Hello and welcome to another episode of Evaluation. My name is Wangeshi Kuremi.
And my name is Bikora Gisamba.
And today we will be discussing biodiversity. Now, this is another episode in the environmental and climate change series.
Uh-huh.
And today we will try to understand why is it important for all of the us, you, me, and the rats to exist together.
Rats?
Take us through. See, we have to fight for the rights of every species under the sun.
Rights
So
of the
today
rats.
we choose the rats and the hyenas.
Okay. Fisi ni sisi na sisi ni fisi.
Sorry. Let me just shut up.
So, biodiversity. What is biodiversity? As we said before, we're going to be simplifying all the jargon words outside there, but really, biodiversity is no jargon. So, biodiversity is generally the diverseness, the vastness, the huge, the variety of biological, that is flora and fauna that exists outside there.
Flora and fauna.
Wow.
It just sounds so flora and fauna.
Fauna, yeah.
Yeah, it's just basically the variety, the celebrating the different organisms that exist outside there. We're talking about the lion. We're talking about you, the human being. We're also talking about the rats, the snakes. Every one of these species is important if it exists in your ecosystem.
But wait, when you talk about animals and plants, are we leaving out the fungi
and also
fungi,
the fungi,
bacteria?
the bacteria,
That plant life in a fungi? Fungi?
that
one. Anyway.
Algae.
Yeah.
All of them.
Yeah.
All biological organisms that exist in your ecosystem are important. And like ecosystem is just basically that interconnectedness, that interplay between different species. Yeah.
In nature, yeah.
Yeah, in nature. And it should also be in your body. So all of the bacteria that are in your body are important.
Yeah.
All of the animals that are outside in the park are important. There's none that is less important. There used to be this conversation about snakes. Are they important in our ecosystem? And they are. If you live in a place that is snake infested, they're important.
So happy.
I'm sorry, but it's true.
Yeah.
They're important in your ecosystem. So now, why do we normally have the conversation on biodiversity? Why is it key to have the discussion on biodiversity?
Yeah. Well, for starters, we need to know that biodiversity is important. For starters, because of ecological stability. We are saying that every organism in nature has a specific role that it plays in nature, without which the ecosystem in place will collapse.
Yes.
So for ecological stability, our ecosystem needs to be stable, and for this stability to exist, every organism has to be playing its role.
Yeah.
So that's why we need to understand about biodiversity.
Yeah, and it's as simple as, let's give the example of a farmer in a piece of land, because I feel like that's easier.
Yeah.
Understanding that the bees in your farm are as essential as the crops that you're growing is very key. Understanding that the bees have a role in pollinating your crops.
Yeah.
And also the birds. Some birds also like pollinators.
Yeah.
So also the birds, you have to allow them to interact with your crops in a certain manner that allows for you to benefit while they are also benefiting. Yeah. So some lady who plants figs and was it figs? No, pomegranates.
Okay. Yes.
Kukumanga.
Yeah.
Kukumanga. I don't know why I thought kukumanga was a bad thing when I was growing up, but anyway.
Kukumanga is not a spice.
I think it helps with libido. That is why.
Pomegranate is not a fruit.
It's a fruit. It's one of the seeds.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a really expensive fruit.
It's really expensive. Yeah.
Go on.
Things in the bedroom. I think that is why I thought it was a bad fruit. But anyway, it's a good fruit, and it is as important as the next fruit.
Yeah.
But now in the development of this pomegranate, she was having a lot of issues with the birds. The birds were attacking her crops, and she kept saying that she has to find a way to control these birds. So this is where this is another place that the conversation of biodiversity comes in.
Yeah.
And we normally use biomimicry. We copy nature. We copy
to solve
problems when it comes to biodiverse places like that.
Yeah.
Places that have a lot of birds, but at the same time you want the existence of these crops to have. So how do you create some sort of balance? And that is where the conversation of biological diversity comes in. Yeah.
So, for instance, in that case, they might decide to put up a scarecrow probably,
Yeah.
because it's going maybe to chase the birds away as compared to killing the birds.
Yes.
Yeah.
Or using pesticides and all of those insecticides to control the birds. They might also decide to just put up a net on top of all
Yeah.
of the trees so that they
That
can
works.
limit the amount of seeds that the birds get.
Get,
So that,
yeah.
because they also assist in the pollination of these
They do.
crops, because once they eat them and then they defecate the seeds,
Yeah.
the plants develop, they continue
Elsewhere.
growing, yes, elsewhere, yes. So you have to allow them to get some fruits, but not all.
Yeah.
So you can limit the amount of the ones that they eat. You can cover your land. So there's so many solutions that come with understanding that your ecosystem is biologically diverse. Yeah.
Pushes us towards nature-based solutions, which tend to harm the environment less.
Yes.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the park. Then let's talk about KWS, and let's talk about why does the Kenya Wildlife Service, among other authorities in the environmental sector, why do they call for you to not harm the elephants, the lions, and things like that? Let's talk about it from a food chain perspective,
A food chain
where
perspective, yeah.
we all interact when it comes to food. And food is a very basic need, yeah. We all interact, and we remember the food chain that we learned in primary school. There's the who and who.
We have the food chain and the food web. So with the food chain, we have at the bottom level, we have the sun, the sun's energy being used for photosynthesis of plants,
Yeah.
making food. This food is fed on by the herbivores, and then the herbivores are fed on by the carnivores. Carnivores are fed on by the tertiary consumers. You have that is the hyenas and the vultures,
Yeah.
and then these are fed on by bacteria when they die. So what they do is they decompose the organic material, that is the dead animals and plants,
Yes.
putting them back in nature such
Back
that
to the
zina serve as manure
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's a circle. It's a circle of
of life.
pretty sure we are off tune. We buy a sana, but yeah, it's a circle of life. But that's just biodiversity is understanding that all of us exist and we are as important. And when I say all of us, I'm not talking about it from we mentioned in this podcast an anthropogenic point of view. I'm talking about it from an ecocentric point of view. That you, the ants, the rats in your house, the cockroaches, all of these animals they serve their purpose. And in campus we did we in school we did campaign called Fisi Nisisi campaign.
Yeah.
And in the Fisi Nisisi campaign we were trying to sensitize people to understand that the hyenas
are just as important
yes,
as human
the
beings.
lions.
Yeah.
The hyenas are just as important as you.
Yeah.
Let's zoom into my face. The hyenas are just as important as you. Because the hyenas, in their role as tertiary consumers, they eat what no one else can eat.
Yeah, they eat carcasses. Can you eat carcass?
No one can eat carcasses. And if these carcasses are not eaten, there's spread of disease. Yes? Very simple. There's just spread of disease.
Yeah.
The insects, they come pick up the disease, they spread them around when these carcasses start to decompose. But who is the hyena? The hero of the story.
It will eat it.
It will eat it. So hyena
has no standards.
Has no standards. The hyena, without its standards, plays an important role in the ecosystem that reduces the spread of disease.
Yeah.
Right? And so do the rats and other tertiary consumers.
They literally feed on that. They feed
on that on your behalf. And then you kill the hyenas. So now we have 1,000,001 carcasses. And carcasses are inevitable because death is part of life. So then we have 1,000,001 carcasses out there and people are getting sick and you're wondering, why are we getting sick? It's because you killed the hyenas. Yes. So there are different types of the hyena in this case plays a key species, a key role.
Yeah.
A key role in that ecosystem.
I'm thinking, one question. Hyenas, they're hunted for their skin.
They hunt hyenas. People. They hunt hyenas.
I don't know if hyenas are hunted because you said we kill hyenas.
They kill them because of the encroachment. After the encroachment into the wild, the hyenas have nowhere to be, so they come chill in your garden.
Yeah.
Now you just
imagine walking up to hyenas in your garden.
And then they're loud. They just come at night and you can hear them running and now so there's the conversation of the importance of all of these species. And that is where we normally come with the conversation of keystone species that play a key role in that ecosystem. They play an important role in that ecosystem. Like, for instance, the elephant. People look at the elephant and they're like, what is the role of that elephant? Apart from attracting tourists who bring money into the country, who gives you a job, you and your family members. Apart from that very key role, there's also the fact that it falls down trees.
Yeah.
You know,
enabling the lower organisms to eat as well.
Yes.
The manure,
The
after
manure.
feeding it defecates. The manure waters, or not really watering. The manure helps the crops or whatever plants,
Yeah, it
vegetation
also-
life to grow.
Yeah, it also assists with pollination,
Yeah.
with the defecation and everything, moving
Yeah.
the seeds from one place to the
To
other.
another, yeah.
There are so many roles that the elephant plays in an ecosystem.
Without which, if elephants didn't exist, the it would literally crumble. The ecosystem.
That ecosystem would crumble. So an elephant, a savanna elephant, is a key species.
Yeah.
And when we tell people not to poach for these species, we're asking you to respect the role that they play. Heshimu kazi yao.
We're just saying that we want to be able to coexist with animals in nature. We benefit from them as they benefit from us.
As much as they benefit from us, yeah.
We don't have to benefit from them by poaching them. We can benefit from them tourism wise.
Yeah.
At the same time, we allow them to live by them feeding on whatever. I mean, not in our homes, but like if they're coming to our homes, it means we encroached their land. But we exist as we let the animals exist as well.
Yes,
Yeah.
it's very simple. And that does not mean that don't eat animals. Please, we mentioned in another podcast that I am a vegetarian, but still the idea is to allow the cycle of life to
Continue.
continue.
We don't have to finish
You
everything
don't
right
have to finish
now.
everything. You don't have to kill all the animals that are encroaching into your land.
Yeah.
There's a better solution.
Yeah, we don't have to kill everything right now. We have to let the other incoming generations to be able to exist, which brings another point: sustainable development.
Sustainable development.
We need to ensure the sustainability of life. That's why we are having this conversation on biodiversity again.
Yeah. So let's look at it from a different perspective, because by hearing elephants and things like that and the hyena, we've also like become champions of the hyena in this podcast.
Yeah.
But let's talk about trees. Let's talk about the acacia tree that is normally found in almost all arid and semi-arid lands of Kenya.
yeah.
And when we talk about arid and semi-arid, we're not talking about the desert like lands. We're talking about probably where you live, because Kenya is
Most of it is
arid and semi-arid.
yeah.
So it's there's crops that grow in arid and semi-arid places.
Yeah.
There's also farming that happens in arid and semi-arid places. So we're talking about probably where you live, because Kenya is majority arid and semi-arid land.
Yeah.
So acacia trees, what role do they play in our ecosystem? Let's just use that as another example.
Yeah. Going back to eating and letting eat, we get firewood. We can get. I heard that acacia trees are really good charcoal and firewood and everything.
This is
So
the
that
fuel.
yeah, that's a way we can benefit from them. But what role do they play? So you notice in your area or wherever you live, if you have acacia trees growing, if you have acacia trees growing around you, you'll notice that birds really live there a lot. And why do birds really occupy that kind of species of tree? It's because the thorns in the acacia trees, they kind of like they prevent prey, that is snakes and rodents, from feeding on the nest, the eggs of the birds. So you will notice that the birds live there because kind of their babies are protected. That is the eggs. I'm calling the eggs babies. Yeah, the babies are protected. Yeah.
Yeah, so that's nature. That's nature of the acacia tree, to have thorns. While to you might seem like something you do not want, it helps the birds.
birds,
And what do the birds help? They help with pollination. Of the farm.
The beauty. Don't you want to wake up in the morning to birds?
To birds. The other day I woke up to the roosting of the pied crows, yes. And it was a mess sight, because they were making a lot of noise when I was asleep. But still, it's a very beautiful sight to behold.
Yeah.
And this species of crows, they have their role that they play
In the ecosystem.
And by the end of the day, it advantages you because you're part of this ecosystem.
Yeah.
That is what we want you guys to understand today, that you're part of an ecosystem. You're part of a larger existence. So next time you see a white lizard in your house, don't kill
Don't kill it. The geckos.
They are very common.
Yeah, they're called the geckos that eat mosquitoes in the house.
They eat mosquitoes.
Yeah, they eat mosquitoes.
Way.
They
See,
eat
I'm learning a lot.
mosquitoes.
No, but I
They
didn't
eat
know they eat
mosquitoes.
mosquitoes.
They eat mosquitoes and they're really yuckish looking because they're transparent. Shine light against the skin of that thing, unaona its internal organs, it's yuckish. But anyway, they eat mosquitoes in a house.
Am I supposed to grimace in this place? Because why would you say something is transparent with all that scale?
Yeah, ina kulanga mosquitoes. So, but I was working somewhere a while back, and it's like these homes, the settlers wa kitambo, the white settlers wa kitambo, they have a house. It's being No, sawa. The white settlers. So it's a home for a previous white settler. So they have set up a sort of a cottage, is sort of a hotel.
Yeah.
Now the lady that is running the place right now allows geckos to
Just wander around.
wander around because she says they eat mosquitoes. So she doesn't have to use Mortin Doom and everything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's what we're saying. You don't have to use Mortin Doom.
You don't
kill
have to
your
use
mosquitoes.
artificial means to solve your problems. You
Yeah.
can go to
You
nature-based
can go to
solutions.
nature, and that is
Yeah.
where the conversation of biomimicry happens, where
Yeah.
you copy what is already in nature,
nature, yeah.
to benefit yourself instead of ruining nature in the process. Because we said in this same podcast that nature is precarious,
Capricious.
capricious.
Oh, damn.
What is precarious? Jesus.
Capricious.
Nature is capricious. It is, and you cannot tell what is unpredictable. You cannot tell what is going to happen tomorrow.
Yeah.
So you might kill all the geckos and then you get a swarm of mosquitoes.
Yeah.
Who's going to help you? Who's going to help you? Nobody. Let's talk about how does the conversation on biodiversity help us, especially let's just look at it from a farmer's point of view. I feel like we've had different mentions here and there, but how does it help us in our day-to-day activities and in different professions?
I am in water. I'm a professional in water. So talking about diversity, biodiversity, water-wise, I'd say it helps us to know why we need to conserve our wetlands. That came out, I don't know, but yeah, conserve our wetlands. As water flows through a marshy area into a lake, the marshy area, which is in this case our wetland, purifies the water, takes off any toxins, from the water before it goes into our major water body.
Yeah. So when you understand the role of those marshy waters, you get to understand that the reason as to why one source of water has clean water
It's because of this other area.
because of this other
swampy
area. Yeah. So this area is as important as
the
that
other
one.
area.
By the end of the day, understanding biodiversity really helps in crops and helping out in agriculture when it comes to conversation of monoculture. And when we tell you that maize, for instance, if you keep planting maize from January to end of year, every single time, maize is going to take some nutrients from the soil. It's also going to give some nutrients to the soil. Now, if that maize is the only one that is being planted there, it means it's only taking up that nutrient. By the end of the day, that
There'll be
soil
a
will be
deficit.
nutrient deficient.
Deficient.
Yeah. So when you understand biodiversity, you also understand that some crops, because the conversation of biodiversity is also plants and crops and other living organisms. So you understand that some bacteria and some minerals and everything are brought by different species, like leguminous plants. They normally bring a lot of protein to the soil. So if the maize requires proteins, then what you can do is you can intercrop with
legumes.
With legumes
That are going to help with nitrogen fixation. In the soil.
So it's just the basic understanding that everything, probably there is a solution to everything that we are facing today in nature. And instead of getting rid of nature so that we can exist, we need to understand that there's importance in the coexistence.
We can live with them.
We should live with them.
Should live with them.
And that by the end of the day, when we are one with nature, we actually reap more benefits.
One with nature.
Sounds like some Buddhist thing to say. We actually reap a lot of benefits
from nature,
because every species, from the rats to the elephants, they have a role that they play, and you killing them, you are reading the ecosystem of that role.
So we are big on eat and let others eat as well.
Exactly.
Live and let the others live as well.
Live and let others live.
Yeah.
And by others, we don't mean your sisters and your brothers. We mean the elephants, the lions,
the plants,
the fisimisisi, the geckos, and the plants and everything.
Yeah.
If you see a grasshopper in your house, do not
please don't kill it. Just
don't
leave it
the
outside.
Leave it outside. If you don't want it in your space, leave it somewhere else.
Don't kill the caterpillar because it's gonna be a beautiful butterfly one day.
Don't kill it because it has a role to play. Every species has a niche. It has that specific role that it plays. Yeah, and we also mentioned things like flagship species. Those are the species that represent a region, like the KWS. The flagship species is the elephant.
You see it on its logo.
You see it on its logo. And we have the panda for the World Wildlife Fund. Yes, the pandas. So it's normally just one species that is to represent a region. That does not mean that it is the only species that needs to be conserved. It means it's just a representation of other species, and it plays an important role as much as other species.
Yeah, we also have the endemic species, which are species that exist in one area only. Like we have the Amani sandbird that is endemic to Arabuko Sokoke forest. So we need to understand that this particular species exists and it can't exist anywhere
Anywhere
outside of that.
else,
And
yeah.
this will help us conserve the Arabuko
The
Sokoke
Arabuko
forest.
Coco yeah, exactly. So now if you want to see the Amani sandbird, you cannot see it anywhere
Yeah,
else.
you have to go there.
And if you kill the ones that are in the Arabuko Sokoke, you're done with the Amani sandbird. And the role that the Amani sandbird was playing in the ecosystem.
It's a very beautiful bird with a very beautiful name. We need it.
Yes, we need this. Right, so I feel like at this point you understand that every species is important in whatever field that you're in, even if it's in the economic sector, the tourism sector, the farming sector, even our cameraman. You need this species. We all need this species for just basic interdependence. Our day-to-day activities, we need them. So do not poach, do not encroach into the wild, do not build around rivers and other ecosystems like the forest, do not cut down trees. All of these species are important. Thank you for joining us today.
Thank you. See you next time.
Bye.